Welcome to the first meeting of 2012 for the Gwinnett Amateur Radio Society. Glad to see everybody here tonight. We got a great turnout.
Our membership ranks are now 201.
Oh yeah! Well, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Mike. Everything you ever wanted to know about.
And then some.
And then some. All right. Here you go.
About the arch and the luck of QSLing, and a little bit about the Logbook of the World later on. This is working. Sure. All right. Well, I want you to, you're going to see a lot of QSL cards as this thing goes on. I want you to know it's not hard. You just have to live long enough to work these guys. I started in 61, so I've been at it a little over 50 years now. And it's a lot of fun. This one was one of my early ones. First time I worked in Antarctica, I got all excited, and the guy was really nice and sent a card with a little note on the back of it. He's running a Collins KWM2, a 30L1, 3-element beam, sitting on the snow. Of course, the snow was probably 100 feet deep, so it's like being 100 feet in the air. What is a QSL card? The QSL is the polite for shorthand for I acknowledge the receipt of your transmission. So it's a written confirmation or acknowledgement of a contact. Thank you.
I'm trying to get it centered. Maybe I'll turn it off.
All right. That's my current card. And why would you want a QSL card? Well, it's a courtesy thing. Sending a card is like the final handshake of a contact. Oh, I know that call.
Louder.
Louder?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a CWK.
All right. We know the W4GR card. So we want the cards for awards. They serve as proof of a two-way contact, and you need them for certain awards. Even if you don't chase the paper, the guy on the other end may want your card. He may be looking for Gwinnett County or Brazelton. It's a tradition. Exchanging cards has been a long standing tradition. It started probably at the beginning of ham radio, and more likely with some of the commercial radio stations. You used to listen on the broadcast band, and you heard KMOX, and you sent them a card and told them what they were playing, and they wrote back and said, yep, we were playing that song at that time. This is there was something on the top of that at one time. This is a card, if you only need a couple. We did field day. We got a few requests for field day cards, and we've gotten some for the Greene County W4GR Georgia QSO party operation. I go on to QTH.net, radioqth.net, and you can print your own cards if you only need a couple of them. It prints 3 to a page, and it's pretty much fill in the blank, and you get a proof and can knock off 4 or 5 of them if you need them. And yeah, there are a lot of active hams around. This is the local gal made good. Kay Craigie, the president of ARRL, vice president at that time. This guy is the not so famous, but I like the picture of Stone Mountain. And Blue Lightning also has Red Lightning, evidently, N4GG card.
Go back.
There's more. This guy, this may be the only lower sideband contact he ever made. A4GA is a QRPer that a lot of you'll, if you go to NOGA QRP meetings, you'll meet Lee. He's a big CW operator. This was the N4V special event Brian Page designed, or his daughter designed, this card. The John Belvedere, OM4UN. He does the front and back. So
Back up a second.
he's the author of the Low Band DXing book, by the way.
And what he's done there is he puts a sticker on there that's got, I think he prints this from scratch, but it tells you multiple contacts on one card. He does JTC phone. He does.
That's interesting. Didn't know he had anything that would run that low power. But can't see it in this card. His later card had two Tentec Orions sitting there side by side with the matching amplifiers on it. So, one of the easiest and first card uses of your cards would be to apply for the Worked All Continents Award. And it's North America, South America, Oceania, which Hawaii and all the South Pacific islands. Asia, that may be the tough one. Europe and Africa. And Antarctica is not necessary for Worked All Continents. So you just fill in the blanks, who you worked and what frequency.
Who issues that one? Who issues
That's an ARRL award. Most of these will be. And there's a card that you need for Worked All Continents. Italian supermodel, by the way. She causes a pileup when she gets on the air. Miss Peru. When you get bored and want to work all states on phone, CW, and digital, you can apply for the Triple Play Award. The gotcha on this one is all of them have to be confirmed on the Logbook of the World. No cards. The list is long. There's the DXCC, the 5-band DXCC, the Challenge, the VHF, UHF, Century Club, Worked All Zones for CQ Magazine, 5-band Worked All Zones, Worked All U.S. counties. It is possible. There's some guys around here that have done it twice.
Are you going to explain what each of those is?
No.
Okay.
The DX Century Club is anytime you work more than 100 countries and get them confirmed, you submit that to the ARRL and they issue a very nice looking certificate. The Challenge Award for the 5 bands are 80, 40, 20, 15, and 10. Not just any 5 bands, but those particular ones. The challenge is when you make 1,000 band country contacts. VHF, UHF, CC, Century Club, 100 grid squares on 6 meters and 2 meters, and it's only 50 on 440 and up. 5-band Worked All Zones, the CQ zones, there are 40 of them. You work somebody in each one. You get a mixed phone, CW, same as the other award. And then the Worked All Counties, which I've never gotten fired up about. So the information on the QSL card, you know it, you've seen them, they're all standardized, printed in much the same way. If you're portable or mobile, you'd want to indicate that on your card. You want your geographic location, your street, county, and country on the same side so that there's no doubt which country you're confirming. The ITU and the CQ zones can be included. Special cards for portable operations. Ward Silver does a lot of traveling, and he's the editor of the DX bulletin contest bulletin every month.
He's also the editor of ARRL Handbook.
Editor of the ARRL Handbook also. And he indicated where he was and what he was on his way to, and I worked him on 6 meters on sideband. So you might add your memberships in your clubs, organizations, your email address, brag a little bit what awards you've earned, previous call signs that you've held. I was Whoops. I was too handy with it. Oh, great. Get the code. Alright. I was XWA4CVB, and at that time I was heavily involved in Rotary. I was the secretary of the Rotary Club in Wanger, Georgia. And they're sent to people in all countries of all faiths and beliefs. So you kind of want to stay away from political, religious, off-color, anything that might be considered offensive, like that. Still need that one. If you work DS7H with the rocks out there in the middle of the Pacific, you can get that card with the black tape taken off. Basic card design. They can be vertical or they can be horizontal. Jim Clary, DQ9JC of Diego Garcia, he's back and he's operating from there. Standard card, 3.5 by 5.5. Europeans use a little bit bigger cards sometimes. You want to put in who you're confirming, the date, the month and the year, and the time in Greenwich Mean Time, Zulu time, Universal Coordinated Time. The frequency, you can put it in megahertz, in meters, or shorthand megahertz. Indicate what mode was, what the signal report was. And technically it needs to say two-way for it to be counted. If you make a mistake, start over. Crossed out or corrections on a card can invalidate it if the card checker is really, really picky. And that please QSL thanks line down there, you cross out or circle the one you want to, cross out the one you don't need or circle the ones you want it to say.
And that means that you're looking for one for them, or thanking them with one, right?
Right. Please QSL is what's on the bottom of most of mine. Or thank you for your QSL. Or I don't need a card, just QSL. Thanks. So how do you send these cards? Well, direct mail, but if you're doing it to overseas countries, it's 98 cents right now, going to $1.22 or something like that in January. So $1.05 on January 22nd, I think it was. So that gets kind of expensive, and you got to put $2 bills in there so that he can buy a stamp to send the card back to you. So a less expensive, but more, not as quick way is through a QSL manager. You talk to station HK0NA, and he says QSL via W3HNK. Well, you look up W3HNK, and he's the manager. He's not the manager for that call, but you look it up, and you get his address, send him a card, filled out just like you would if you were sending it regular mail. He gets the guy's log, looks you up, and sends you a card back. So it's just 44 cents each way. You do furnish a self-addressed stamped envelope, just out of courtesy, because he's going to just dump them in the bureau if you don't. And the QSL Bureau, there are two. The Bureau system is operated primarily by the ARRL. Cards go in to the Bureau from all over the world. They're sorted. We had a program about this, if you remember. They're sorted and then divided up into call areas. The outgoing Bureau, you send them a stack of your cards, sorted by prefix, and they put them in pigeonholes, and when they get enough, they box them up and send them to the incoming Bureau in the other country. It takes a while. You may wait 2 years to get a card. It's the least expensive. You get a pretty good return rate out of it. and you can send to foreign managers, not stateside managers. And if you operate while you're outside of the country, you can have your cards, or you can ask them to send your cards via the bureau, and you can, if you have a card on file with the bureau, they'll stick those foreign operations in your envelope. Like I said, the disadvantages: it's not time sensitive. Not all DX stations have a bureau or use the bureau. Some are just too small. The outgoing bureau includes, for DX only, includes KL7 and KH6, Hawaii and Alaska. You can't forward IRCs, and you can't send green stamps via the bureaus. The fourth call area has the most hams of any of the call areas. So it's been divided into 2 bureau processing units. The 1x4s, K4, N4, W4, are sorted by the Mecklenburg Amateur Radio Club in Charlotte. Mecklenburg.
Get it right. Yeah.
Mecklenburg. Okay. The rest are Sterling Park Amateur Radio Club in Sterling, Virginia. This is what you need to send them. A 5x7.5 or a 6x9 envelope. You need to put 1 stamp on it if you want them to send you the envelope when they've got about 6 cards, 1 ounce worth of postage in it. Put 2 stamps on it if you figure that you've done a lot of activity and you're going to get a ton of cards in, and send them 3 or 4 of those so that they don't run out. You put your call letters up in the corner and self-address it, put the postage on it, mail it to them inside another envelope, and when they get cards for you, they'll stick them in there, and it's like Christmas when you get that little brown envelope in your mailbox that day, and you run inside to see who you got, and it's a bunch of Spain and Germany.
Hey, Mike?
Yes?
One comment about that is always use the forever stamps.
True. Always use forever stamps, or they'll be done in you for additional postage.
Another thing is that if you're going to use the brown envelopes, class costs more. Don't use the class.
I think they actually, the comment was that if you're going to use the brown envelopes, the class costs more, so don't use them. I think they're actually discouraging the use of those class envelopes now.
I thought it said in a class.
Does it? I thought they
No,
were
I just got a
well,
notice that.
George,
Don't fold the envelopes.
don't fold.
Put the envelopes in a bigger envelope so it's not creased to fold.
Right. George says, don't fold your envelopes, put them in a bigger envelope so that they get there pristine. The overseas managers, 4U1UN, located on Manhattan Island in New York, counts as a foreign DX entity. And to get a card from them, you have to have your card verified by HB9BOU in Switzerland. Pain in the rear, but that's the way the club operates. QSL Direct, I talked about that. It's the most expensive, but it's also the fastest. And the foreign DX guys, they can't buy a stamp, an airmail stamp, to send you a card back for $1 anymore. So there's some of the places you just don't want to send money anyway. You're inviting the card to get or the envelope to be opened. So be aware that in some of the Soviet bloc countries, Africa, and much of Central and South America, you should just make no indication on the envelope that of a ham call. And don't put anything in the return address that would indicate it's ham radio related, because the postal workers there all know that lots of times there's money in those cards. So lots of Bill Barr recommends just taping the envelope as a double measure to make it even safer. I think international reply coupons are dollars. So you got to be, there's a website W9OL provides, and it has a table on there of the countries, and it indicates whether they prefer green dollars or international reply coupons. An IRC is something that if you're lucky, the postal worker will recognize the word, and you can buy $2.12 each now, and I think that's going up also in January. But you can buy that, send it to your DX station. He can present it to any member of the telecommunications union and get an airmail stamp for it. Yes, sir.
Do they need to be stamped or not stamped?
Do they need to be stamped or not stamped? What he's referring to is this chop in the lower left corner. The international regulations say they do not need to be stamped, that it's optional. There's interpretation by each country that handles these things, and some do require it. George?
If they ever stamp, they're going to be stamped on the left side.
Right.
If they're stamped on the right side, they're no good.
Right. When you turn it into the post office for a stamp, the post office will then stamp the right side of it, which cancels it. Now, which one of these is a valid or current international reply coupon? These you probably don't see anymore. The little ones were from the 80s.
That one on the bottom. Right.
This one, the Sistine Chapel, died in December of 2010, I believe. And that one is the good one. So, as I said, some folks are just not big enough to have a bureau to serve them. It's not a mutiny. Some of you will get that. The DXpeditions. That's where someone goes to a rare location, often a remote location. They operate for a period of time so that we DXers can get it in our logbook. Rule number 1, follow precisely the instructions that they put on their website or on QRZ.com. For example, this guy said, we uploaded our logbook of the world on March the 1st, 1 hour after we were given permission to do so by the ARRL. This was PJ6A. Don't send us a card. No, under no circumstances should you send card requests via the Bureau. If you want your PJ6A via the Bureau, you must make that request using the online QSL request system, OQRS. No donations expected for Bureau request. If you want your card quicker, direct mail to the manager or make a donation through the online QSL request system. And that's actually a pretty good deal. You got $5 through PayPal, and you don't have to send a card, don't have to buy an envelope, don't have to buy a QSL card, don't have to buy an RRC, don't have to buy an overseas stamp. And you come out just a little less, and they make a few bucks on it. They'll publish their information. A good source of information is thedailydx.com. It's Bernie McClinney's newsletter. He has a website that has a lookup. You can just type in the call sign of the guy that you're trying to figure out the route to, and if he knows about it, it'll pop up. And that, you don't have to be a subscriber to his newsletter for that. W1AW publishes a bulletin every week that you can get by request. So it's a good idea to support these guys. Your donation helps to defray the expenses, and even a few dollars will help. It's recommended you keep a date, keep a little logbook of when you sent the QSL card, so that you know, if 6 months goes by and you hadn't heard, then you can figure that it was lost in the mail or you're not in the log. But usually if you're not in the log, they send your card back with that ugly little NIL stamped across it. What kind of... 1A, 4A. The Sovereign Military Hospitalier Order of St. John of Jerusalem and Rhodes and Malta. Europe. They don't have a land-based entity that they belong to. Their headquarters is in Rome, and they have UN recognition, they have diplomatic recognition, but they don't have a country. The point that I was going to make with this card was that sometimes there's some fine print. They were raising money for a new school in one of their missionary organizations, and I understood that you got your QSL card a lot faster if you put $10 in the envelope instead of $5. It just depends on how bad you need them. Special event stations are a lot of fun to collect the cards. You got your lighthouses, museum ships, the Indianapolis 500, Route 66, Titanic, Marconi Day, you name it. The military Veterans Day, was that where you make a cross-band contact with a military station who's out of the amateur band, but he's listening inside the amateur band, and you have to be listening to him on outside the band. This was the Pentagon station. And these guys, the crazy ones that go out and fight the mosquitoes. This one was an 8.5 by 11 QSL card. Maybe the biggest one I ever got. This one was probably the longest call. CF3 VEDAY. That was as bad as my novice CW call. The Titanic, W1T. We did W4A from the battleship Alabama. K0K. That was, we had some folks here. I believe that was Chris that was on the other end of the key at that time. And thank goodness for amateur radio. There are lots of aspects to this hobby. Do write legibly or use labels. Do use professionally printed cards. Use interesting stamps. Anything that makes your card stand out will help. Now, having said that, here's the contradiction. Where did I put it? This guy, Joe Gore, he and I were in high school together, and he made his QSL card with a typewriter, and that's it. Joe's still active, and his QSL card looks like the postage stamp, which he also attaches to it, and that for an overseas stamp collector, that really pops and makes it stand out. So Joe's card was a little unique, I thought. All right, don't write call signs on the envelopes. We talked about that. Don't send cash if you can help it. That may be illegal in some countries. All right, the electronic mystery, logbook of the world. The advantages, it's fast. You upload out of your logbook. Many of your logging programs will do it for you once you get it working. It's secure. You can apply for awards online, and it's built in, as I said. The disadvantages, It only matches QSO with other Logbook of the World users. So folks have to be participating with it for you to get a match. And a disadvantage is no pretty card to put on the wall or in an album. Here's a sample page out of it. I think we're going to just log on to this. You can look at your DXCC matches. You can look at your Worked All States matches, your Grid Square matches, and how do you we get all these cards. Other than storing them in shoe boxes, you can display them in picture albums with wall hangers, display boards, frames. I've heard of guys scanning them and putting them in the electronic picture frames. Some of the resources for you, the outgoing QSL Bureau information for you 2s, 9s, 8s that are not W4s that I didn't cover. You can find out about the outgoing Bureau at the ARRL website and how the incoming Bureau works at the same place. Logbook of the World there. If you are stuck for a route to a de-expedition that, say, happened 5-10 years ago, IK3QAR has a great website. You can put in the call letters and it'll pop up the routes. And like if PJ2T was operated by 8 different people in the last 8 years, it'll tell you year by year who was the QSL manager that year that you worked them. And you often can just Google the expedition's station call, and there's a pretty good bet you'll find what you're looking for. So now, the Xers motto, work now, worry later. Working them is the easy part a lot of times, and I hope this will help you. How am I doing on time?
You're okay on time.
Okay. All right, I'm going to log on to live on the Logbook of the World, and we'll demonstrate some of its features.
Hey, Mike, you might mention that in one of the sessions of TechFest is going to be Logbook of the World.
Yep, if you're really stuck, the North Fulton Club is going to, they say they're going to have everything you need to get signed up for Logbook of the World. If you want to get a head start, I've got a couple of Logbook of the World for Dummies printouts.
Mike, we need to know your password. Wait a minute.
You really need to know why Norm does think he knows it.
It's not Bosco.
Don't you type in your password.
I think you fat fingered the first one.
You didn't put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yep. All right.
He didn't know it either.
You want to use mine? Did you take it? Oh, there you go.
There we go. All right. Now,
You want me to drive, or you don't need this one?
yeah. All righty. When you get there,
No, sit down there.
Norm, move the camera back.
Huh?
Move the camera back out of the way.
well, I won't bother you. Other than stepping on it. All right, when you get there, you log in, as I showed you just then. The first thing you see is that there are 50 million QSL matches that have resulted from these 46,000 users and 70,000 certificates.
That's not all you, Mike.
Not all me. And if you're logged in, you can, look down and they've got the latest news of processing. They're running a 2-hour delay, which is a marked improvement over what they were doing a few weeks ago. They were having about a 3-day delay processing.
Up at the top is the count of your
I've submitted is that 18,171 QSOs and have 8,722 matches. Now I work a lot of contests and a good bit of RIDI, and which you'll see in a minute. This last weekend's RIDI contest, I uploaded 318 QSOs, and I probably have matches for half of those already. To see your QSOs, you just you click on your QSOs. It brings up a query screen. And I want to see, how did I do with my worked off states progress, and what are the most recent QSL cards that I've gotten with respect to the worked off states.
Is this at Newington, the server in Newington? Well, I mean,
We don't really know where the server
it
is.
is.
Yeah.
It's ARL.
Yeah. So there are my matches, the most recent matches. There are no check marks in this column, which means that none of them are new. Oh, there's a new one. I work W0SD on RIDI on 40 meters, and that was a new South Dakota digital contact for me.
I worked in too.
You got him too? Was he new for you? The awards tab. Go, fella.
Hit the left button.
Yeah. It's thinking.
Slow server.
Yeah, it's loading. I don't think it was. There you go, now you server.
All right, the awards. If I want to look at what my status is with respect to DXCC, and the reason you have this drop-down box, let me talk about that for a second, is if you operate from more than one location, you can get digital certificates for each of your locations. And since all of the worked off states contacts have to be made within a 50-mile radius of each other, it would be common for you to have your home certificate, your mountain cabin certificate, your beach house certificate. So let's check the DXCC award account, and I'll show you what those columns mean when you get there. All right. This tells you what award that you're talking about. DXCC, mixed, CW phone, digital, by the bands. This column, the selected column, means that their matching program says that there is the one new mixed match that I haven't gotten applied. If I were to go in and make an application online, that one would move from the selected into the applied column, and that means that you submitted it for credit, but they haven't checked it yet. Once they check it, that'll go to 0, that'll go to 0, and your total will be updated in the this field over here, the total current. Total awards, I've worked 302 countries, confirmed 302 countries. Only 296 of them are currently DXCC entities. The Panama Canal Zone went away. Manami to Hiroshima went away.
Something the Caribbean went away.
Well, 4 of them, we lost 4 of them in the Caribbean, but we got them back. So, if the government, if they cease to exist, like the Panama Canal Zone, which was KP5 for a long time, the 8Z4, the Saudi neutral zone.
Get North Korea while they was active.
Nope. Don't have P5. You can, one of the handy things that they have here, you can look at your award credit matrix, which will bring up come on. Here we go. Well, here we go.
Are you 3G or 4G?
It will bring up a listing by entity. This one's sorted by their prefix. You can ask it to sort it by the name of the country, and it'll tell you, you know what you have credits for already at ARRL. You can copy and paste this directly into Excel and use it to manage your QSLing and the paper hunt.
And there's the ones that were deleted, they're sort of the top.
Yeah, I've got a question about that deleted too. I haven't been doing this that long, and I've already got some that show up as certain locations deleted. Like Curacao, it says it's deleted, yet it's giving me credit for that. What does that mean? Because it seems like I'm actually still getting DXCC credit for it, but it's saying it's deleted.
Right.
Right.
You got it.
That wasn't,
Aruba, Curacao, Bonaire. There were 4 of the Dutch dependencies on October the 10th that became countries in their own right. They got recognition in the UN. They got their own ITU assigned prefix of call letters, and you cannot work the old PJ2 Curacao now for credit, but you can work the new PJ2 Curacao for credit. So it's maybe a distinction without a difference there, but
so if you worked them back when we were there, it's deleted.
it
You
counts.
have to work them
Does that
now.
mean I don't have that as one of my DXCC entities then?
I think it'll still show.
It'll show in your total column, but it won't be one of your current ones.
Okay.
Let me.
Better have a few extra countries before you can.
And only current countries count in the challenge award. That's whether you're trying to work 1,000 band countries. Each time you work a new one on a different band, only once on a band, it counts as a point. So you're trying to get 1,000 points there. I'm at 1287. You can click on like 6 meters and look at all of the. I've got one there, PJ2, the new Curacao that hadn't been credited, but I can look to see what do I have on 6 meters. And fair.
Is that what the beam that won't turn?
Yep. And you might can tell from this that it's fixed on Europe.
All of me.
Yeah, I worked MD0CCE, Bob, I think on just about every band from the Alaman. Okay, where did I want to go back to? I wonder when Kyle last uploaded his log. He uploaded January the 9th, 2012.
That may be scary.
WB2OGY.
2006. You're a little behind, Steve.
Steve.
Just different times.
Oh, well.
Tell them about how you get an award. You do all this work in the stations, and then what do you have to do to get one?
I'll show you that in a minute. Wonder if I've ever worked W1AW. A couple of times. I don't have them on 80 meters. I think I have a card from my novice days, though I'm working them on 80. All right. Applying for an award. Okay, awards. DXCC. Application. Then you just go down the list and put a check mark, or you can have it check all of them, or you can put a check mark by the ones that you're interested in. Like if I wanted only the 12 meter contacts to be updated, I could click on 12 meters here and it would submit just those. The next step, I won't do the next step. The next step would tell you how many QSO credits that you need, and you can buy those credits here on the website. If you buy more than 50 at a time, I think it's 15 cents each, which is actually less expensive than doing a paper submission. The Logbook of the World saves you money all the way around.
Basically, you're paying for the piece of paper.
Well, on top of that, they hit you with a fee for the certificate and an application fee, and then a per QSL fee.
But you get this nice certificate.
You get a nice
piece of paper.
certificate. And then you put it in a $1 frame.
Actually, DXCC's oversized. It's a $3.
Before you finish up, just bring up O'Brien's Web. I want everybody to see that since we're hooked up with the live thing.
All right. We have a request for...
While you're bringing it up, I'll tell him.
Okay, Mike turned me on to this a few weeks ago, and this is really neat if you're trying to do work to all states or other different types of contests and what have you. It's called o'briensweb.com. I think it's .com, isn't it?
I think it is.
Okay, Mike, he's real quick to just show you what this O'Brien's Web is, and then we'll wrap everything up pretty quickly here.
All right. I talked a lot about Logbook of the World, showed you what it do. There are 4 steps to getting Logbook of the World capability. One is you download two little programs from their website, TQSL and TQSL Cert. One's a certificate manager, and the other one is what you'll eventually use for uploading your files to the ARRL server. You request those programs. You use TQSL Cert to request a certificate from the ARRL. That doesn't get you a certificate. It gets you a postcard back with a password on it. Don't lose the postcard. You need it one time in your life, but nothing else will work but that postcard. So when you get the postcard, you use TQSL Cert again, and go onto their website, fill in a blank, put in that password, and in a couple of days you'll get an email from them with your certificate attached. So then you have to load that certificate into the Logbook of the World Cert program and save it and make a backup of it, and then you can start using the other program to upload your programs to the Logbook of the World. Dave?
Yeah, quick question for you, Mike. I thought North Fulton was going to be able to do this all in one day at TechFest?
I don't know how they can do that.
No, they can only get
They can get you as far as requesting the postcard, but they can load the software and get you ready. George wanted to make a comment.
It's unfortunate that at the present time, they're sending a QSL card to some of the African countries or Middle Eastern place. Don't use a stamp with American flag on it. It goes in their wastebasket.
He was saying that our current postage stamps with the flags on them are not welcome in some of the countries, so commemorative stamps may work better, and hopefully you'll find a stamp collector over there. All right, let me tell you, if you're stuck and you really want Logbook of the World for Dummies, I've got a couple of copies here that are step-by-step instructions with screenshots. It's in 6 parts. You can get the same stuff off that ARRL.org/instructions off their website. But it's in 6 parts there, and I've just combined it all and printed it out into one document here. Andy O'Brien, K3UK, came up with a great idea of basically just a Facebook for hams that lets us make schedules with each other. So you pick out first what your interest is. If you want to do QRP, RagChew, Stray Key Century Club, FIST, or Logbook of the World, you pick Logbook of the World, and it brings up a chat page, basically. And over here tells us who's logged in to Logbook of the World, to O'Brien's web now.
And if you hover over them, it tells you what state they're in.
Like Joe Subich in Florida. He's looking for Wyoming on JT65 on 80. That's a KJ4, Aiken County, South Carolina. So you can see who's who, where they are, what their name is. Or you can just come down and say, oh, I see you, Maryland is on. I'd like to work Maryland. Oh, that's W3/NH7C. So
let me make another point.
You then go to the little dialog box down at the bottom, type a message, say, meet me on
Right.
whatever, or calling CQ on 10104.
This logs you out after a certain period of time if you're just sitting there watching and not participating. So like Mike is not logged in right now, but he can see what other people are saying, and this reloads every few minutes, and somebody may pop up there. Now Georgia is not listed in the states and provinces, even though Mike is on here right now. Somebody might pop up and say, hey, I need 80 meters on RIDI for Georgia. And, and Mike sees that, and he can just go ahead and log in and then actually tell them, tell me what frequency and I'll meet you there. So I used this. Mike told me about it. He said it was going to ruin my life, and he was right. I went on there and I said, I need North Dakota on JT65. And a guy who was on there but wasn't actually logged in saw it. And he said, he came up, he logged in and said, tell me what frequency, and I'll meet you there. And I got North Dakota, and it was just like 2 minutes. And then all of a sudden, you think, oh, you start getting greedy, and you start asking for more and more and more. All of a sudden, before you know it, you got about 50 people on, and you're saying, can you do this? Can you do this? I need 15 on CW. And they just start piling up on you. And they tell me that Georgia's one of the hardest states to get. I keep hearing that, and I'm thinking, with all the hams we have in Georgia, I can't believe that. But anyway, this is a great resource that Mike turned me on to.
I did log in, so my call is now in the list of users. I haven't used it in a long time, but this is how I chased down.
Georgia.
This is how I chased down the triple play for some of those hard ones. And the screen just refreshed. Somebody posted a message, and he said, okay, we started out with the guy's call, and if it were your call, it would show up in color, I believe. And
yeah.
And he says, okay, thanks for the try. Evidently, they didn't make it. You do have to register, and if you register, then it'll the supplemental information will show up. I haven't used it in so long that I'm no longer a registered user, evidently.
I did it yesterday looking for West Virginia. I need West Virginia phone for WAS phone. And the fellow wasn't on from West Virginia, but somebody else came back and said, send this guy an email. He's here all the time. So we got a schedule for tomorrow for me to get West Virginia. I said, Mike needed it for something too.
We're going to need to wrap up. It's 9.
Did you say was on the
We need to wrap up.
Okay.
I needed just for phone anywhere
in West Virginia.
in West Virginia.
Wait till 2013, I can help you.
That's it for me.
Okay, thank you very much, Mike. Come on up here, let's give you a certificate. Jeff's trying to kill you there with the cord. Okay, Phil's going to take our picture.
Yeah, look over here and smile at it.
I think I blinked.
I'll do it one more time.
What color was the flash?
Okay.
I can't see a thing. So I can't see a thing, so I'm pretty sure that I blinked.
If the flash was red, your eyes were closed.
Okay. If you're blind, your eyes, I guess, were open.
If it's white,
Okay, Mike, Norm.
can
Very short.
Can we turn the lights back on?
Ray's not here tonight.